This crap better work.
I know.
What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Gameday Extra Podcast. I'm Travis Brown, senior Texas A&M sportswriter here at KBTX, alongside chief meteorologist in the arrhythmia of the pulse of Aggie land. We haven't brought that one, or the spirit of Aggie land.
Got the caffeine ready.
Brought that out. It is
Yep.
Max Crawford. Max, how you doing?
As I take a drink of the coffee right as you're introducing me. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm
It
good.
smells
I'm
so good.
It is the middle of the week. Yeah, it's one of those like quote-unquote flavored pods, but it's still black coffee. I like those. I like those a lot.
I'm impressed that the pod smells that good. I'm not a big pod guy.
It's all about the aroma when it comes to coffee for me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is only my second cup of the day, which means I can have one more after this. So all things considered, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Short term, things are looking good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tyler Shaw, sports director. How you doing over there?
I'm doing good. I like the spirit of Aggieland. That's a nice little title there.
The arrhythmia of the spirit of Aggie land.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah,
That's good.
all is well. I was talking to Max though. It's a pretty good sports weekend for you.
It
I
was-
mean, just everybody's winning.
I'm still riding off of that high, to be honest with you. From USA hockey
Yeah.
to basketball teams winning to
Baseball's
I was
still
going to
under-
say baseball
Baseball,
swept. You know,
yeah.
after a couple of like, oh boy, the past couple of days since, or past couple of games since, have been a lot more encouraging. Arsenal put a whooping on Tottenham. So like
Tottenham
even
is
my
struggling,
fringe
yeah.
teams that like I claim to support, but sometimes I just forget exist, did really well as well.
I watched a little bit of the Austin FC game last night while I was
I
writing
would
late.
like to go to one of those games.
They-
like,
it's so
to be
much
there in
fun.
person. That's what I've
is
heard that
so
like
much
they
fun.
fully bought in and have made it a great environment from day one, and
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. I love that for them.
Like fun and rowdy, but kind of in a family-friendly way.
Really cool color scheme
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
And it's
green.
their only professional team
Mm-hmm.
that they have. Too.
Yeah, and then but don't they play a couple of Spurs games? in the
Yeah,
Moody
they
Center
claim
occasionally?
the Spurs kind of. They're trying to.
It's a little weird.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
it's like Arkansas having to play games at the Memorial Stadium.
and they played
stuff.
at the Moody, but they brought like the Spurs brought their court, and
Yeah.
on their court says Frostbank Center. So it's just kind of funny that
Yeah.
that's interesting.
they're playing in Austin and literally says Frostbank
I
Center.
bet Frostbank had a little something to say about that too. Like, no, if you're taking our court,
So watching it on
guys-
TV, you probably didn't notice.
Yeah, probably
that
not.
You're playing in a different venue.
This brings up
not.
an interesting point that I was looking at about something too. We have World Cup coming up here this summer
Yeah.
as well in our near our Fairburg. It's going to be one of the games to be played in AT&T Stadium. Well, as far as because FIFA sells their own advertisements and whatever, I believe that is going to be known as Dallas Stadium
wow.
because they take
I wonder
all,
if they're going to limit the aerial shots because you see
Yeah.
the big AT&T on top.
Yeah.
You think people who are non-native English speakers are going to have trouble getting to Dallas Stadium with it being in
I
Arlington?
think if you've paid that money, you're gonna be able to
Yeah,
figure it out.
Probably true.
So yeah, it was a pretty good little sports weekend this way. How the old Mavs doing?
They are what they are. They did win last night, I believe, 2 nights ago.
Yeah,
They beat Quentin Jackson's Pacers.
yeah.
Yeah,
Rick Carlisle's Pacers.
Ooh,
and Rick Carlisle's Pacers.
Jim Carrey's.
But-
Jim Carrey's Pacers.
You know,
Pacers.
it's at the point of the season that just ride it out, get a good draft pick. Come back next year, have Kyrie healthy, and already looking at next year is what it is.
There was those kind of seemingly, I think, disproved reports that Mark Cuban was interested in buying back the team. Would you give away one of your children to have Mark Cuban buy?
I wouldn't give away one of my children, but I would very much like Mark Cuban to buy back the team because someone needs to save. They've already made a lot of good moves. They've gotten rid of a lot of the snakes in there. The next step is ownership.
We're in the middle of award season right now, and you're going. There's different awards for the biggest qualification of awards classification. That's like the big national ones. 2 of the 10 stories for event coverage or packages were about the Luka trade.
That makes I
was
believe
one of the-
that. That makes
yeah.
sense.
It was a pretty big deal.
that was a big deal.
That's like the only time I've seen Tyler like off of his baseline, like calm,
Even
and
keeled,
collected.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I guess gets me riled up as a sports fan.
Yeah.
Everything else I kind of just, it was whatever, but that was not whatever.
Pretty rough.
Yeah.
Pretty rough.
Well, let's go ahead and get into the headlines this week. You can find over there at KBTX.com with all of our good coverage of everything going on. Let's start with Caden Sorrell last night. He returns after getting spiked in the hand. Let me tell you, getting spiked, not a whole lot of fun.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, he cut his hand like in between. He's left-handed, so it was his non-throwing hand, but like kind of in between his thumb and his finger right here. We asked Travis Chestnut about it when he's like, "Did you see it when he came?" He's like, "Yeah, it was gross." And he said he was kind of like pulling it back and looking in there to see what was going on. But had to get stitches, sat out
for what, 3 days?
He was out. So the injury happened Friday. He was out. He played in the field.
Well,
no, it happened the first game of the Penn series.
Yeah.
And then Saturday he played in the field but wasn't able to hit. It was too swollen, too much pain to swing a bat. Was out Sunday, and then Tuesday, last night's game, hit 2 dingers, one of them a grand slam. One of them, the first one, cleared the batter's eye by probably like 20 feet. Just an absolute towering mammoth blast. So he is back, seemingly back in his swinging ways. Michael Early had some good things to say about the fact that, he went 0 for 9 in the 2 games leading up to the injury. And he's like, if you're in pro ball and you aren't seeing the ball like that, a coach might sit you down for a game or 2 just to kind of get a reset.
Yeah.
And he said a reset usually involves sitting, being involved in a game, but just watching it from the dugout and then kind of getting back into it. And he said having this injury was he would never do that in a college scenario because games just mean more. There's fewer games. It just means more. But he said that he liked that the kind of little hitting reset that Caden Sorrell got there.
He's on pace. I mean, you might be looking at the conference player of the year or something. I mean, the talent that dude has.
Just crazy off the bat.
And the fact that he was 0 for 9, he was in that funk and then just immediately snapped out of it. I mean, if he keeps this up, it's like Jace Lavalette 2.0 almost.
Yeah.
We would love that, and we will probably need that several times throughout the year. So that is fun.
He was like plus 14,000 odds to win the Golden Spikes, like one of the last of the people who actually had odds on there, and I think it was. Kendall Rogers from D1 Baseball was like, you might maybe throw some money on that because he is good. Right now he is tied for 7th with, that's home runs per game. Let's see. He has 5 home runs, so he's 1 off the lead, which is shared by a handful of guys. So
that's 1 off the lead with missing
2 games.
Couple games.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why he is 7th in home runs per game.
Very excited. I think the way that we're approaching this, you've got, and maybe I might be getting ahead of the headlines here a little bit, but low to mid 20s ranking, and you've got some non-ranked opponents, but still good opponents, and obviously you've got number 1 UCLA coming up. I would love a split weekend in our favor, so like maybe a 2-1 weekend. But I think we're gonna get a good indicator of what we can expect at least early in the season.
That was a great segue because baseball's going up to Arlington for
so are we
college, and so are we for the college baseball. I don't know what the name of this. It's not like Shriners. It's the college baseball weekend.
You can call it Globe Life Series.
It's up at Globe Life Field, home of the Rangers. And they will play Virginia Tech, number 1 UCLA, who lost Tuesday, blew out TCU this weekend, and then lost to San Diego State on Tuesday.
A bunch of people had those midweek losses this Tuesday.
They did. So that'll be a big test. And then they close it out with Arizona State, which is always an interesting one with Michael Early and his ties back there. We'll be up there to check that out. But it's going to be like the first real, not test, of the season to kind of see where this A&M team stacks up. Although I will say that Penn squad had some really good pitchers. They really could throw it.
I forget which of the Penn pitchers it was because they honestly kind of all looked alike. But man, one of them had just an absolutely vicious breaking ball. I think it was the relief pitcher on Saturday that just none of our batters could figure out until I think it was
Farr.
until Sawyer Farr stepped up and clobbered one of them.
And it's not. I mean, it shouldn't be super surprising because I feel like a lot of times in these non-conference series, you have a team like Penn that like the pitchers are just they're not SEC pitchers, and they're just hard to figure out,
right?
And you kind of see that. So I mean, they didn't lose any of those games; they won all 3 of them,
right?
But it wouldn't have that's kind of why they lost that series 2 years ago. Is you just have a team that obviously is not as good, but.
Right,
it's just some weird pitching. And
that guy specifically was if he threw a fastball, it was way outside the zone, or like even to where the catcher couldn't catch it, and so he at one point it looked pretty obvious. He was just like, you know what, I'm just going to throw this curve every single time because right now they're not hitting it.
Even with A&M alone, look at the Ivy League guys that have come in the last few years to A&M. I mean,
grab a couple of those.
There's talent up there in the Ivy Leagues, and certainly that pitching showed, and it was good on Sawyer Farr, who pinch hit for Caden Sorrell when he was just playing defense at the end of that game to get that double to tie it, and then the walk-off walk to win that one.
Always love a walk-off walk.
Favorite highlight in all of sports.
Yeah, walk-off walk. That's why Aaron,
almost as good as the walk-off balk.
I was going to say the walk-off balk walk would be just as good.
The walk-off walk was good because Aaron already had to leave to anchor the 6, so I could handle shooting the walk-off.
She was proud of your footage, by the way. She said that it looked very good.
Well, thanks. Yeah. Yay. Oh, just her, not you.
Yeah, I'm just relaying the message.
Okay,
I said it was all right. it was good.
Well, I'll go ahead and give the floor to you then, because you did a little digging and research on some of these A&M women's basketball players that have kind of helped this little turnaround. And we're going to talk plenty more basketball, but just maybe a little touch on these players that you highlighted.
I mean, throughout the course of the season, storylines like this kind of sometimes get lost because you're just plugging along game after game. But this team's full of transfers. But a lot of them just kind of already knew each other. So Nicera Pryor, who's just kind of the heart and soul of this team and the leading scorer and assist and everything, she played at Sacred Heart last year. Fatmata Jane, she played at St. Peter's, part of the same conference. So they played each other. And that was brought up yesterday when we talked to them in the media availability about, they play each other a couple times. Fats, what they call her, reminded Nye that, we beat you, and we beat you twice. And Nye said, yeah, sure, but, I almost single-handedly, beat you guys.
Yeah.
And looking back at the box score, she's not wrong. She had, 23 points, 13 rebounds. Mind you, Nye's, small, tiny. She's probably the shortest
getting
person
that many boards
there.
is
Getting that many
impressive.
boards. So she did, the leading scorer, and they only lost by 3. But it was just funny, kind of the back and forth. And then I think it was Fats that went on the visit first to A&M, and that was the reason why Nye decided to come here. They had talked, and I asked Joni about it. And she said, yeah, it was kind of all them that kind of did their own recruiting. So really it was because of Fats, who's the second leading scorer of the team, that brought the leading scorer of this team.
Yeah, and
they're both rolling right now. It was just kind of interesting connections. There's also Lauren Ware and Lamaya Hilton, or Lamaya Hilton, and they also played on the same team as freshmen, and now they're here. So just with the transfer portal, everything, it's kind of all these full circle moments.
Yeah. It's old as new again type of stuff.
It kind of feels going, tying it back in. We were just talking baseball. It feels a little bit like the Hayden Schott, Jackson Appel, Wyatt Hensler. They both come from those
opponents, little rivals, and then they team up and end up doing a lot of good together.
For sure.
And it may have taken a little bit, but it seems like they're doing good right now.
Right.
For sure. We can touch on it real quick because we'll have more of that after this weekend. But A&M hosts the SEC Indoor Track Championships. Track and swimming and golf and those sports are always so fascinating because the season doesn't really matter. It only matters until you get to the championship.
Yeah,
and
it's
so,
all about this meet.
And so it's working throughout the meets you have before to kind of peak at the right time, to set your PRs and do well at the SECs and then the NCAAs. A&M's hosting those in their new facility this weekend.
Well, and I think that's why Pat Henry's had so much success is he knows exactly how to manage his athlete seasons. They don't participate in every meet because it doesn't matter until the championship. Now, for someone covering a meet, like if I went to a random regular season meet to try and get footage and I show up like, oh, this person's not competing. Well,
Yeah, it's
kind of sucks
stinks,
for the fan or for anyone covering it for media. But he does it in a way so that he tries to at least get everyone peaking at the right time. And that's this weekend, and then the following week for NCAAs.
That was one of the best things about, for the most part, if I remember right, about covering a thing Mo when she was here. Is because like she was, even when she was taking kind of weeks off from like the 400, she was like dabbling in the 800.
Yeah.
And so like you might not see her in her event, which actually ended up being the 800. She ran the 400, but at times, but like she would just kind of go out there and try something new, and you always pretty much could see
And be
her.
really good at it.
And be really good at it.
Freak of nature.
Yeah. We'll close out with this. We'll have more from the NCAA Indoor Track Championship and can talk a little bit about the winners and who placed there. But one last thing, I have up here, probably by the time you're listening to this, I'll have a story up on KBTX.com about former A&M basketball coach, Lynn Hickey, women's basketball coach, the second one here, is now the executive director of the National Collegiate Equestrian Association. And she is in that role tasked basically to finally get equestrian out of the emerging sports category into the championship sports category, which just an emerging sport is, as anybody who's an A&M fan knows, like equestrian is a part of the athletic department, but it's like not fully NCAA. They don't have an NCAA championship for equestrian, but they get scholarships and are part of the athletic department. And so her job is to try to reach that threshold. You need 40 programs to be able to be full NCAA championship status. They have 22 right now, but only Division I and Division II recognize equestrian as an emerging sport. So if they can get Division III in there, there's a lot more teams there. There's also like 360 clubs at universities around the country that it wouldn't take. They already have the resources and infrastructure and horses to be able to do it. It's just a matter of getting the school to sponsor it. And that would be a way. And then I also talked to Trev Alberts, and he's working with Lynn Hickey, trying to maybe convince that maybe looking at number of programs isn't the right way for this kind of program for equestrian. Maybe it's the number of athletes, because there's over 1,000, over 1,400 athletes that are equestrian athletes just from those 22 teams. And that is one way that a lot of these schools balance Title IX scholarship requirements for women's sports, is because most of these schools carry 40 or 50 equestrian athletes, which is, half of a football team right now. So interesting stuff from Lynn and what she's going to be able to do moving forward.
So if you, once this, becomes NCAA status, there's not a way to retroactively claim NCAA championships, is there?
No, because
the number of A&M championships,
right,
you could start, claiming as more NCAA.
I like where your head's at,
right? Because I think 2017 was the last national championship
right
for equestrian. And of course, this National Collegiate Equestrian Association is the one who puts on the championship. So you're an NCEA national champion if you win, but you get scholarships. It counts towards Title IX, and that's what Trev Albert said. He said, we're treating this sport exactly like it's an NCAA sport. I mean, if you look at the budget, they're given, they make, about $3 million as a part, not make, but they're given about $3 million from the athletic department to be able to operate. And so why not just go ahead and make it a full NCAA sport? So interesting stuff there if you want to read more on that.
Over 40 years ago, my parents started C&J Barbecue, and today we continue to honor Dad's legacy with the best barbecue in the Brazos Valley. With locations on Harvey Road, Southwest Parkway, and our newest location on William J. Bryan, we carry on our family tradition of serving up award-winning barbecue, sides, and desserts. We also offer delivery, catering, as well as custom menus and private chef services. Come visit us today for some of the best barbecue around. C&J Barbecue. The C is for Chip, the J is for Joe, and the barbecue is for you.
So let's get into the conversation this week, and that is a kind of a point that Tyler brought up a day or two ago. Could Texas A&M have two NCAA basketball tournament teams? I think the men's team was the one that, as they were rolling through the first part of conference play, everyone thought, okay, yeah, that's probably a tournament team. But now the women's team is turning some heads, and I don't know. Maybe Tyler, you're the one who kind of brought this point to us. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's weird. I'll admit, before I brought this up, I had not been paying attention to the women's bracketology much, just because it got to that point where I thought that there was no chance that A&M was going to make the tournament. I just didn't really give that a thought. But they've won 4 or 5. They're 5-9 in conference play. The interesting thing now, kind of what brought this to attention is they're 5-9 in SEC, and the strength of schedule helps them tremendously of the teams that they play because they play in the SEC.
Yeah.
Another team that's 5-9 in the SEC is Mississippi State. When I did look at bracketology, Mississippi State is considered a bubble team right now. They're the first 4 in. So they are, as of now, many people consider Mississippi State a tournament team. Well, they have the same conference record as A&M, and they play each other tomorrow, this Thursday. So if A&M beats Mississippi State at Reed Arena, they just beat another team. Now, they've already beaten several teams that are above the bubble.
Sure.
So they beat another one that has the same record as them. Now they have a better record. So that's when I think that's when you start having that conversation, because when you start comparing them to, oh wait, they're not that much different than, sure, it may have looked a lot worse just because of that losing stretch they had, and they were losing by so much. But they did lose to just the top handful of teams in the country.
All of a sudden, they have a little bit of a resume.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't know if it'll hurt them that they did have less they don't have many games. They played a shorter non-conference schedule than.
Yeah, there was trouble. There was trouble getting some games, which is why they have less games than they should.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's going to dock them in the. I don't know, but that's an issue. But yeah, the resume is pretty impressive. They've beaten ranked teams.
Yeah.
So let's look. That's a good comparison. So Mississippi State is right now they're in their net ranking, which is the rankings that heavily play into a lot of times the committee's decision making. They're ranked 38th, and with an 18-10 record. They have let's see, a 2-8 record in Quad 1. And they have a 3-1 record in Quad 3, so 1 Quad 3 loss. A&M is actually down here at 66 with a 12-11 record. They are 1-9, and they do have 1 Quad 4 loss. So that's probably the biggest hindrance is that 1 Quad 4 loss. They do have a Quad 3 loss, but they're 4-0 in Quad 2. So you want to be typically in these things you want to be like inside 40 in the net. That's mostly anecdotal. But because of the at-large bids and things, like if you can get inside like 40, usually that means you're safe. It's when you're in that 50 to 60 range, things can get a little wonky.
So I think A&M's argument is going to be, yes, because it does look bad. They have that quad. What you said, a Quad 4 loss.
Yes,
they have a Quad 4 loss, but their argument is they didn't play as many Quad 3 and Quad 4 games as apparently. I didn't fact check this, but they have 9 Quad 3 and Quad 4 matchups, which is the fewest in the country.
Correct.
So every other team is playing more cupcake games than they are. They will have played by the end of the time they finish the regular season, which is next week. They'll have played 16 Quad 1 and Quad 2 opponents. Mm-hmm. So their argument is just looking at the fact that the schedule is a gauntlet for them, and that they have played, probably one of the tougher schedules. I mean, you have 16 Quad 1 and Quad 2 games that you're playing. Granted, the record's not great. They're still, below 500, 5-9 in SEC play. But I don't know. It's interesting if they keep winning.
Yeah,
you have Mississippi State, and then you finish the season at Ole Miss. If you win both of those, that's 7 SEC wins.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely doable, and I think we have seen not necessarily from the women's NCAA selection committee, but certainly from the men's, is that conference tournament probably not going to mean a whole lot,
right? Unless
you go out and win it. And I just think that's asking a little bit too much, considering the South Carolinas, the LSU's, the Texases of the world.
They're probably not going to. Now they could make a decent run,
sure,
like depending on how they're. But like you said, will that matter? I don't know.
Yeah. We're talking about the upcoming schedule. Mississippi State on Thursday, Ole Miss on March 1st. Mississippi State 38th, like we said. Ole Miss 20th in the net ranking. So
big resume booster.
Those are both resume boosting games moving forward, especially if you can get beat a top 20 Ole Miss team at Ole Miss to close out the season. That would, I would think, be enough to at least raise some eyebrows in the committee room.
Well, and recently, I mean, they have that win at Tennessee, which is a big resume booster, the ranked win over Alabama. So they've already started to stack them. You get 2 more, and then, I think they're in the conversation, which I never would have thought, a couple weeks ago that we'd be having this conversation.
Right. Max, I don't know how much women's basketball you've been able to tune into. What's the Arrhythmia perspective from the women's basketball team this year?
It's very vibe heavy, but my son and I did go to the Arkansas game this past Sunday, and I was telling Tyler and Aaron both that was one of the more stress-free basketball games that I can remember being at. And at one point, I kind of, because I was trying to keep track of my 3-year-old and the game, at one point I kind of lost track of the score, and I was like, man, we're kind of dominating them right now. And I looked up at the scoreboard, and we were only up by like 5 or 6, but it was early in the game, and we just kind of kept extending the lead. And at one point, I think we were up by like 25 points. And Arkansas had a couple of absolute gamers on their team, but we just looked better than them in almost every single way. Like, we were a little better field goal percentage. We were hitting a few more threes. We were better at the free throw line. And it just eventually it showed up in the box score. Like, at first it didn't. But, night prior, she, amazing. And then John A, those were definitely the 2 people who stood out. But even Lamaya Hamilton, Hilton, excuse me, came in a little bit of extra time and moved the ball very well. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like they had it under control the entire game. So that was really, really nice to see.
Ever since the South Carolina game, which they lost, but was nothing like, it was not a bad loss. Like, they kept it competitive the whole way. It's looked like a different team to me. So I don't know what clicked, but something clicked. Yeah. And they just seem to be just playing different now.
To be completely honest, like the additional basketball I've watched beyond Sunday of the women's team has been pretty minimal because we have been in such a slide. And for me, it's like, well, I'm not going to sit here and try to find improvement when we're losing by 20 plus each and every game. But I did. There were a couple of games that I was watching where it just seemed like there was no, not that there was no confidence, but it just, you'd set up a play and then nothing would come from it. And then the other team would score. And then you come up, you set up another play, and you just couldn't get the ball in the basket type of thing. But there's just so much more confidence that I saw that I just, again, am blindly assuming was not there at first. They seemed to understand each other. Like, it was very, very fluid and just good basketball that I watched on Sunday.
If you want to look at Bart Torvik, actually does a little bit of analytics for the women's game on his website. He actually has them losing both the next 2 games. A close one against Mississippi State, like a 1.5 spread, but he has about a 12.5 spread loss against Ole Miss to close out the season. So they're going to have to prove some people wrong if they're going to get into that.
I think if you're just talking about regardless of NCAA resume, I think especially assuming if we take one of the last 2, at least one of the last 2, I think it's pretty safe to assume that Joni coached her way into another contract year or another year.
Because her contract's not up till the next year.
I think if this slide would have continued, that would have been something that was a little bit more talked about and in question, but I think the way that they seem to be finishing the season, I think it's a pretty foregone conclusion that we're going to see her again next year.
I think that's the impressive thing of this is I don't know how many teams lose 3 games in a row by 40-plus points and still don't just give up.
Right.
The fact that they have rallied together and keep persevering and have gotten to this point, I think that's been the impressive part. So, I think you're right.
Clearly, hell of a coaching job.
Deserves to see what next year brings.
Stats definitely spell out improvement. They were around 90 in an offensive rate, offensive rating, and around, let's see, it was around 39th in defense. Have had a strong defense all season. If you look at the last 10, it drops down to 60 in the 60s. kind of is averaged out in the middle a little bit. So definitely seeing improvements there, and will be interesting to see if they can win those last 2 games, if that does make a case for them to be included. Now, we were talking that the men's team is the one that I think when you started the season, when it started the conference season, everyone was looking like this could be a to double bye SEC team, potentially.
They were in
top,
first for a while.
Yeah, a top 5 team, and then they had that 4-game losing streak.
4 games. Yeah.
And now it's kind of put them back in the bubble picture, but they're on the right side of the bubble. I believe Lenardi had them as like the first team on the bubble.
Yeah.
Last 4 buys. The number 1 of the last 4 buys. So they are literally
all SEC. So is Texas A&M, Missouri, Texas, and Auburn, which they've played all those teams.
Right, and they still have Texas.
Should have beaten all those teams. But
yeah. Man, we've talked about this before. That Missouri matchup was not a good matchup.
It wasn't good.
Stinky.
Yeah.
Not good.
But I think their schedule is maybe a little bit more favorable, other than we're recording this on Wednesday, so they play tonight against Arkansas. But the rest of those 3 games certainly are winnable. I don't think they're going to win at Arkansas, but the rest of the games are winnable.
The fact you get Kentucky and Texas at home helps a lot.
Yeah, it's huge.
So, I think I'd feel a little differently if they were going to Lexington. But you get Kentucky at home, and if you're riding, if you're coming off a win over Texas and you're feeling good, Kentucky's been a lot kind of up and down this year, and they started out slow. So this isn't the Kentucky teams of old. You're right. Everything looks pretty winnable.
And A&M is still. I mean, they are. They have the tie break or game behind really at 9-5 in conference play, and they are 5th. They are 1 spot out of the double bye position still after all of that. I think it's proof that this SEC isn't quite the same SEC as last season. That was a historic run for SEC teams.
Florida, I think, to me, is the only team that's kind of emerged out of the SEC as who's kind of head and shoulders maybe above but yeah, everything else is kind of muddied down. I mean, it's everyone's beating up on each other now.
Mm-hmm. Arkansas right now is one of those teams in the double bye, the top 4 scenario, and so that could be a little bit of a position mover if they were able to go up there and win. But I don't know what's the vibes here. I think it's still pretty obvious. It's still the right bet to say that A&M is going to make the tournament, but. I mean, are they looking at a Dayton situation? Or what's the gut feeling right now as A&M sits?
Well, I think they let's say they lose to Arkansas, win the next 3, they're squarely in, and don't have to worry about Dayton, don't have to worry about any of that. You drop 2 of those games, maybe 3. I think you still have a shot to get in, but I don't know. The fact that they, even after this 2-game winning streak, they're still kind of not they're still around that bubble. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the committee is going to look at this, and especially if they end up, let's say they go 2-2, and they end up being kind of right there on that bubble. Are they going to get one of those play-in games for the fact of their non-conference schedule? And because there are things going against just like the schedule helps the A&M women, the schedule is going to hurt the men. So
Max, what's your feels?
I think the vibes are pretty high. I don't expect us to win at Arkansas just because we very rarely do.
It's your favorite place,
right?
though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's kind of like A&M football going to LSU, like.
And when you say rarely, I know they won in 2019. That might be
right. Yeah, like they just I think we have a much better record at Rupp Arena than we do at Bud Walton.
Yeah.
And I think we have about the same record at Allen Fieldhouse as we do at Bud Walton. Like, you know what I mean? It just doesn't happen all that much. And like I said, it's like when we go to LSU to play football. It's like for one reason or another, we just can't win there until obviously very recently. But so instinctively putting that as an L, especially, Arkansas's arguably the most talented team in the league. Obviously Kentucky, Alabama, Florida would probably have something to say about that too. But I think you got to go 2-2 in the last 4. And I almost feel like a loss. I'm trying to phrase this the right way. Like if we were to go 2-0 against Texas and Kentucky and then lose to LSU, I'd almost rather us take one of Texas and Kentucky and then still beat LSU, because I feel like a loss to LSU would hurt more than a win against Kentucky or Texas would help. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we can kind of play with it. So Bart Torvik has a little tool, and again, this isn't exact science. It's mostly done by rankings, but you can kind of pick and choose which games if the A&M can win moving forward and kind of where that would place them in the bracket. If they win out, Bart Torvik says that they're the top number 7 seed. Now, in my history playing with this as it's gone out, sometimes like the max can be like a place to 2 or a line to 2 lines higher than it actually is. A&M usually is about 1 or 2 below what the maxed out option is. So if A&M wins out, it has them as a 7 seed.
You're saying 7 is probably a stretch for this
7
team.
is probably the ceiling for this team. So you were saying if let's say they win all of them except LSU, which I think is a absolutely must win with how bad LSU. That drops them just to the bottom of 7. That's where things get a little wonky, because I think losing to LSU in the last game of the season would look really bad in the committee's eyes, because that's a last place LSU team. What was the scenario that you kind of put out there?
I think it would you draw it up essentially loss win. So you lose to Arkansas, you beat Texas, you lose to Kentucky, you beat LSU,
which is probably
I think that's about what you can maybe expect. That's a pretty reasonable expectation,
reasonable.
right?
That puts A&M at a 9 seed.
Yeah,
Which when you look at bracket matrix, which is all the mock brackets out there kind of combined into an average, A&M is right at a 9.59. Technically puts them on the 10 line, but right there in the middle.
I almost feel like
be
that's how it's going to happen.
Probably. Yeah, I'm just thinking you might almost want to be a 10 over a 9. I don't know, a lot of those 9-8 matchups.
And the 10-5 is the one where there's usually the most.
Well, 12-5.
12-5. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking 10-7.
10-7, yeah.
Which I'm trying to think if there were 10 in recent. I know they were with Nebraska. That was the 9-8. They were the 4-5 when they.
I'm going to defer to y'all on
round.
that. I just know 12-5 is what you almost never want.
No, you don't want to. You don't want to be the 12-5.
Yeah. I think. It would be incredible if we were to somehow beat Arkansas tonight and just ride that momentum through the rest of the season. I'm not going to put that sort of pressure on that specific team, but they've shown that they can win games like that. Absolutely.
You know how historic that would be? So it was 2019 when they beat them. That was the only time they've beaten them in Fayetteville since 1985.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or 86.
It'd be a big deal. And I mean, and
I don't even think that wasn't Bud Walton.
Yeah,
arena back then.
Bucky and Elko both love to just break trends like that. So we'll see. They have every capability of doing so, especially if they stay as unfatigued as possible down the stretch.
That was going to be my last point, because that's something we talked about last week in the episode that didn't air because of technical issues. But to me, this looks like a team, especially if you look at the data and look at the defensive data, this is a team that maybe has lost their legs because of having how hard buckyball is and how hard they've had to go, especially in that run early in to win those games. Like, do they still have the energy and the tank to go out and win some of these games, go out and make a little bit of a run in the SEC tournament that is game after game after game of just full court madness pressing? I don't think it's there. Now, I don't think that means that they're not a tournament team, but I do think that it'll start continuing to look like a team that doesn't have their legs. Their shooting might not be there. Their defense might not be there at times. I don't know. What have y'all seen? Do you feel the same vibes?
If you're going to make a tournament run, you have to be playing your best ball at that time. I mean, that's just what March is about, is you catch fire, clicks. It's not necessarily the best team. It's the hottest team. And if you have lost your legs, you're not going to be the hottest team. So yeah, that is a little concerning the way they're playing. Are they built to have a sustained tournament run? I don't know. I think it was encouraging they went up to Norman and won. You swept Oklahoma after, the first time you played. Porter Moser said, they just ran us and we were tired. That's the encouraging thing, that towards the end of that losing streak, they definitely looked very fatigued and tired.
Yeah. I think this is almost a situation where you could, and I'm not going to claim to be like a long-term conditioning expert or anything like that, where maybe we almost don't want this team to make a deep run in the SEC conference tournament and just finish out the season really well. And then at least get a bye to start the tournament. So that's one less game you have to play, and then maybe bounce out early. I don't think that would be the worst thing for this team.
I think that would actually be the best option.
You have a very rested team going into the NCAAs, assuming you make it there. Would that be good for this team? I think so. There are some teams that you have to keep playing your next game. And that's the way that you keep holding on to the momentum. And a bye week is like the worst thing that you can have. This is football, baseball, basketball, whatever. Like baseball playoffs, especially in the MLB. Talking about all the teams that had their first round bye and how much that kind of hurt them. But I think in this scenario, the fewer games that you can play down the stretch, maybe that's more beneficial.
That's the worst kept secret in the NCAA or the SEC baseball tournament, is that most of the coaches who know that they have are hosting a regional locked up and things like that, they want to just get in there and get out. Yep. So they don't have to use up their pitching, don't have to. And I know basketball, baseball, a little different, but in this scenario, how much gas is left in the tank in a first season of buckyball with all new players? I'm not saying buckyball isn't going to work and be great, but like that's a stamina that you build up over the course of a couple of years. To have that in your legs late in the season. Is there enough energy in the tank in year one to go out? And I haven't seen anything that indicates there is. That at least it's trending in an upward direction. But we'll see. Maybe there is. Maybe this little lull that they had over this time is just conserving energy for the adrenaline will get up in the postseason.
There's so much of that we just will never know. Was half the team battling sickness? Were they just in a bad rut, like with a nagging fatigue type injury, and like now they're kind of on the upswing again? We just won't ever know until you look at how the record sets up. So. Yeah, I'm still hopeful. I think especially as far as the rest of the regular season is concerned. I just don't think we'll win tonight. I would love to. I would be pleasantly shocked.
Yeah, you might eat your words, because this will air, and it'll someone will listen to this right after they just had some big upset over Arkansas,
and that would be amazing, and not at all.
Again, I'm kind of with you. I'm not expecting to win, but I do think as far as some of the buck trends, it would be Bucky, because
that's literally his name.
That's literally his name. No, but I mean, I just think that kind of stuff doesn't phase this team. They're not like they don't have that connection to Arkansas. They don't have, and this Arkansas team is much different than has been.
As I say, Chris McDermott's like the only one who's played Arkansas before, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think and it'll be interesting when you bring up the legs, how the fatigue factor plays into. Playing Arkansas and then playing Texas a second time on Saturday. That should be an interesting one. You'll be tuned into that one, Max, I'm sure.
I will.
I like how much we've talked about just the tournament and everything that we haven't even really mentioned that.
They've got a big game coming up.
That Texas is coming to Reed Arena this weekend.
Yeah, and that's not a guaranteed W by any means either. I just like us at home at Reed. I think the atmosphere is going to be really good. I think the players are going to be jazzed up for it, even if they are tired. So that's why I give us the edge.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I think my first thought, because when they beat them in Austin, I thought these teams might split.
Yeah.
It might be one of those where the away team wins each one, which I still think is a big possibility.
Which is what happened last season.
Yeah.
No. It was the other way.
It was the other way.
Home teams won.
Home teams won.
This does feel like when A&M was maybe the hotter team coming in at that point.
Yeah, Texas was down at that point of the
Texas
season.
has been able to rally a little bit. That maybe it's a little bit of I don't know. I have a feeling. My gut feeling is Texas comes out of that one with the win, just because it's so hard in that series in basketball to win both games.
Yeah, which was impressive what they did to Oklahoma. So maybe that's a good sign to come for the Aggies.
Yes, sir. Well, let's close out with a little around the SEC, and again with the full disclosure, this was actually our around the SEC from last week. This is a week old, but things happen, and it was just too good to pass up. And
would you eat week-old chicken wings?
Yeah, it's we'll just pretend no one's heard this. We haven't talked about this before. This is the court case where somebody decided to sue Buffalo Wild Wings that boneless chicken wings are not they're not wings at all. They're chicken nuggets, and that this is false advertising that if you're going to have no boned chicken meat with sauce on it, that is just saucy nuggets. What's our verdict on this 3-person panel?
Well, yes, because that's just understood, right? If you're ordering boneless wings,
Yes.
you're just getting chicken nuggets.
Right.
You're a child.
Or chicken
that's,
tenders.
That.
I feel it. I feel the energy coming over here.
And this is my take on it. Is this person suing for Buffalo Wild Wings for the false advertising? I would sue the person ordering boneless chicken wings.
You think it's his fault?
Okay, this escalated.
I think it's blasphemous.
I was gonna play radio here and say that we're talking about this for the first time. That escalated a lot from last week. Last week it was just like, Travis really likes boneless wings, so I'm gonna kind of lay into it. No, now you're gonna sue me.
No, it's pent up a little bit. Yeah, it's been a week. This is, you don't order boneless chicken wings, and that's it.
You just
if you're getting wings, you bone in all the time. Yes, it's messy. Yes, they're cut.
See, now you know all my arguments, so you're just throwing all my arguments back at me.
Yeah, but you bring your little baby wipes. You're fine. Get all clean. Just bring a bib if you need. I don't know, but
bring a bib and a bottle.
Yeah.
It was fun watching. I'll go back and forth with this because I'm like, well, he's got a point. He's got a point too. I think ultimately I side with Tyler, but like I will get boneless wings on occasion, and I threw in the argument that it depends a little bit on the sauce, where you're getting it from, what you're wearing. I think is very, very important here. Like if I'm going to Pluckers, Wings and More, Buffalo Wild Wings, and I'm going to watch a game. Like, let's say it's March Madness, and we're just trying to watch like 2 or 3 games at once or whatever. I'm getting bone-in wings.
Yeah.
But if I'm going for lunch before coming back to work, and I've already got my shirt and tie on, I am almost guaranteed getting boneless in that situation. And last point, if I get boneless, I'm not getting it with the classic like hot wing sauce. I think that's a little bit ludicrous. Like getting a boneless wing with original hot or like just regular buffalo sauce, that's weird. That's where I would explore the garlic parms, the mango habaneros of the world is in the boneless venture.
Clearly Tyler
And
is
it's
just
got to be blue cheese.
the most adult eater out of all of us in here because he can perfectly navigate bone-in wings with a tie.
I'm not saying calling myself the cleanest eater, but if you're wearing it, I don't think I'd wear a tie. I'd probably take the tie off.
Sure, that's also an option. Yes,
and
correct.
yes, I have eaten wings and you just gotta be extra careful.
I think-
What my 10-year-old daughter does is she orders the sauce on the side, which to each their own, I guess, on that. But she does get the bone in.
Oh, so now it's to each their own.
Each their own. If you're getting bone in, yeah, you get bone in, and she
then you can control the amount of sauce on the bite that you like.
Yeah.
That's fine with
I
me.
think we've long talked about for the podcast doing a type of hot wing challenge or whatever at one of the fine establishments around here. I think now the stakes just upped, and if we do that, you have to do it in a tie.
No, I'm not doing
in a shirt and a tie.
I never said to go eat at Pluckers or Buffalo Wild Wings.
No,
in a shirt and tie.
I think now you have
know where you're
sealed.
eating and you dress appropriately.
I think because you are such the master at bone-in wings that you have to go full tie and not get anything.
Flats or drumstick?
I'll mix of both.
Okay, nice. I prefer flats, but I would say I
don't know if I have a preference, but just,
if I'm going to eat a bone-in wing, it's absolutely going to be a drumstick.
Yeah, I believe that.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Because it's the closest thing to not.
I don't want to work that hard for my food.
Then learn how to eat them right, because it's not that hard. I asked you this last week. I know the answer still. then you will never like going to a crawfish boil. or
No,
even
and I
a
don't like
shrimp.
frog. No,
You don't like frog
I don't like frogfish. I don't like crawfish. I don't like things that look at you
The
before
bone
you
gives
eat
it
them.
flavor, though. It's like part of the
Yeah, it is better. it is
anything.
better
Anything
meat.
with bone, with coming off of the bone is better.
I'd almost rather eat like an actual chicken drumstick, like from KFC, like the big one with the sauce on it, than the little wing, because at least there's like more, like you're getting enough reward for your effort in that scenario.
So the Thanksgiving, Christmas, when there's a turkey, are you a turkey leg guy or no?
I mean, I would, but nah.
Okay.
I love me a good turkey leg.
Me too.
If you go to like a theme park and they got those jumbo turkey legs,
Yeah.
I would try one of them, but see, there's enough. Like with the chicken wing, I always feel like by the time I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really getting like into the sauce here. Oh well, I've already eaten all the meat off of it, so there's just not.
on to the next wing.
There you go.
Or
That's why you order more wings.
and for me, the whole wing experience is about the sauce.
For me, it's all about the beer.
Well,
There you go.
so
Hot
yeah,
wings and
that
beer.
does change things.
Yeah.
But it's all about. We're not going to get into my alcoholic preferences because that's just going to out me too much on this.
Yeah, that is not going to
Yeah, I was
help.
about to say,
Yeah.
then Max will start getting that.
If my wings with a good
Then I will sue you.
with a good whiskey Coke.
This guy is gonna roll up to Pluckers, get some boneless tenders and a hoop tea,
And I'm gonna love every minute of it.
and that's great.
With my teriyaki, half teriyaki, half maple chipotle. It's great.
delicious. I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, and I will not have any. I will be clean. I will have gotten so much meaty enjoyment out of it. It's just the way to go.
Good way
Just
to
the
wrap it
to
up.
go.
I
Well, it is a good way to wrap it up, and we'll continue to fight this out off camera. But that's all the time we have on camera. We will be all over the place this weekend. Me and Tyler up in Arlington covering baseball for the weekend. We'll have Nick and Aaron down here covering basketball with Texas, and we'll be tuned in with that. We'll have people at SEC track. We'll have all of the and there's like high school playoffs and things happening too. We are
Softball
full on.
has a tournament here.
We're full on
This is where you
crossover
earn your
season.
keep. This is where y'all earn your keep for sure.
For those who are gonna go to softball this weekend, what can they say? It's gonna be hot, right?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty warm. Not quite as breezy as the past couple of days, but it'll be one of those times at Davis where you probably need the sunscreen and the additional water. And, of course, the bubbles, because it looks like a bubbly weekend.
Yeah.
Just looking at how the season has started and who our competition is this weekend, I think we will have very, very little problem scoring.
Yep. That'll be a good time for all of those out there. We will be in the lovely air
Go to Davis.
conditioning
Don't
of
have to worry about the weather where we're at.
Globe Light Field. So be sure to check KBTX.com for all that and the 5, 6, and 10 this rest of the week. So for Tyler Shaw and Max Crawford, I'm Travis Brown. This is the Aggie Gameday Extra Podcast. We'll see you next week.